Hello, this is a training video presented by the Literacy Training Team as part of our Links Plan and Links Goals for this year. Our goal remains the same: to continue to implement close reading and annotating strategies to improve student reading. This year, we also added the goal to increase professional development for staff so that they will become more comfortable and more confident in doing this in their classrooms and teaching students these very valuable skills. The close reading graphic should look very familiar to you at this point. We presented it in the opening days of the superintendent's days, and we provided the graphic to every classroom. The graphic shows the 4 levels of close reading and outlines the process which we move through a text with our students to help ensure that they are pulling deep meaning or better understandings from what they're reading. The first level is really generic, just to read and become familiar with the text. Next, students should begin to analyze and investigate the text, and they use annotating strategies to document their thinking and the connections they're making. As they move from annotating to the third level, which we call gist, they should be evaluating their annotations and building connections between important details, and they should be able to, at level 3, develop some conclusion about what the text says or what it means, why it's important. They should be given a chance to write about it at this point so that they can get a nice organized statement of their conclusion as well as some evidence to support it. The importance of this writing step is to prepare them for the 4th level, which is to be able to have an academic conversation about the text and about what they've learned. Step 1 is to read, as I've said. Students should be asked to read the text or a selection of the text and not annotate in the first steps. They should just be trying to become familiar with the words on the page so that it is not completely foreign to them. It's just to get a general sense about maybe the topic as well as how it's structured and what are some of the main ideas. As they proceed past reading and into annotations, they should be referring to the annotating symbols as part of the links plan. Again, we're trying to unify both the process and the skills that students are learning at every grade level in every content area so that each year or in each class it doesn't seem foreign to them. Step 3 we call the gist, and it is the conclusions they draw about the text after reading it, annotating it, and then processing their annotations. In between annotating and actually writing the outcome of the gist is the classification of important details as well as keeping track of what unanswered questions remain. Step 4, students should be given a chance to talk about what they read and what they found or what they took away from the text. It's a good opportunity for them to be proud or confident in what they now know. It should be an opportunity for them to learn more about the text through the readings of others. How do we proceed through this? Well, the first step is to find a text that is grade level appropriate, would be interesting to the students, and is meaningful or informative. You as the teacher need to look at that text and do a close reading yourself to determine the central idea, the key details, the author's purpose in writing it, kind of their opinion, their attitude towards the topic, and identify any necessary vocabulary that students would have to have in order to be able to understand what the author is saying. Third, you will need the close reading pyramid and the annotating symbols either displayed prominently for students or the students should have copies themselves. Finally, once you've prepared, you can start your close reading lesson. Step 1, read for familiarity. Students either read it quietly to themselves first, and then the teacher reads it aloud. That would be geared more towards the upper grade levels. For the lower grade levels or a class of struggling students, it's quite all right to reverse that. Teacher reads it aloud. Do not add any of your own commentary. Just let them hear it read well, and then students will read it. That should improve confidence and comprehension when they are reading it on their own. Then they move to the annotations. In the annotations, they should be going back to the beginning of the text or the text selection and starting from scratch. They should be using circles and question marks for things that they didn't get, whether it's words or ideas in the first reading. They should be able to star, underline, and include exclamations for things that they find important or really interesting. And they should be able to make comments to track their understanding. They should be able to jot down in the margin what they're thinking and what they know. Following the annotations, they move to the gist. They process their annotations. They try to gather similar pieces of information. They make connections. And in the gist, they need to come to a conclusion. This conclusion should be written down. Again, writing it down at this stage is important so that they all have something to bring to the conversation. Again, it builds comfort, it builds confidence. If they get stuck or forget what they were saying, they can always look at what they wrote down when they had the time to write it down. Then finally, they should be allowed to have a chance to talk about it in pairs or small groups or as a whole class. Or you could do that progressively. Have them have a little conversation with a partner. Have them get together in a group and discuss it. And then you, as the teacher, could lead a whole class conversation. If you really look at these steps and the process of reading, you should be able to agree that by the end, students will be fairly confident with their understanding of the text.